Residents of the Maryville-Ashleyville neighborhoods of West Ashley are concerned about possible development there. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with State Representative Wendell Gilliard. Representative Gilliard, it is so good to see you.
Finally caught up with me.
A year later.
With a hoarse voice too, so my voice might sound a little heavy.
Oh gosh.
Okay, but I'm all good, nothing wrong.
Okay.
Just the pollen.
Pollen.
Yes.
Wow. Well, let me begin with the obvious. And this is an article from a local television station, but they basically said neighbors are worried a new real estate development could hurt the Maryville-Ashleyville neighborhood. You told a local television station this quote, "Once you lose the integrity of a neighborhood, the history is gone." When you look at the Maryville-Ashleyville neighborhood, what is the integrity right now in your mind?
Definitely still together. You know, I give the kudos to the neighborhood association, the leaders in the community. It was never about them. And I made that plain at my first meeting because it's a wonderful area. You know, I served on council for 10 years, Charleston City Council, and I developed a personal relationship back there with many of the homeowners. You know, it's just, you know, tremendous, you know, the things that we went through. As you well know, when I got elected to city council back in 1999, I promised that we would bring that pawn shop down, which was located in front of the community. Well, 5.5 years later, with the help of great people like Mr. Carr, Mr. Richardson, you know, Mr. Smalls, Mr. Higgins, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And had it not been for them, I don't think it would have been possible, you know. But it's just things like that that tends to have me look forward to a positive future for that area, because I know that the residents, they value their area and they want to keep the integrity of that community together. And let me say this, you know, the people of Maryville-Ashleyville, they're not against progress nor change, okay? They just want to be part of the progress and change. They ought to have a control on how things are to be set back in their community, just like in any other community anywhere. But I always tell them, gentrification, sad to say, is on the rise and it's still moving. It's like a cancer. And what I learned from gentrification, you know, when people are gentrified out of area, you know, it's all because they're not part of the progress or part of the change. See, you have to empower the people from an economic standpoint. My favorite saying is, there can be no social progress without economic development and equality for everybody who's impacted. In this area now, you have the trailer park right there on Fifth Avenue. These are people who have been, in a sense, left out in the cold. You know, when I first studied and found out what had happened on city council, you know, I didn't want to point fingers. It's not about that. You know, I get condemned at the state level when people call me and say, well, Wendell, this is a better way to do this. Maybe you ought not approach it like this. See, a sign of a good leader, a humble leader, is when we can say, you know what, I think I can take a look at this. I might have made a mistake. You see, because you shouldn't have pride in these positions, because you're going to feel that you're being stepped on. And if people question you, and they ought to have a right to question you, that's the thing that makes us as leaders, public servants, humble to our constituents, okay?
And that's to my next question. I talked to a lot of people around town for the past couple of days, and their question to me was this: why is Wendell Gilliard, a state representative, getting involved with a local issue? When you hear that, what do you say to them?
I would say because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few and the one.
Okay.
Wendell Gilliard has a vested interest in that area. Wendell Gilliard, as an African American, knows about gentrification. Wendell Gilliard knows that gentrification doesn't only impact black people, but eventually impact people of all creeds and all color. Wendell Gilliard knows about being homeless, because I've connected through the years with people who are homeless. As you well know, that's one of my plight as I took public office. You know, Wendell Gilliard cares about his community and his surroundings. Wendell Gilliard love and interest goes beyond the borders. When people call me, if I can do anything to help, I am going to help. But I don't work alone. I work with good people. I make sure, because no man is an island. You see, whether you're a state representative or city councilman, doesn't matter. I could have been a private citizen. I would have been involved. Okay, because when we don't get involved, we see our communities far too many times fall apart. And these type of things happen. And the very thing is happening in Maryville-Ashleyville. You cannot take a historic community like that and not give total control to the residents in that wonderful neighborhood. Okay? Some of the people, as it pertains to this issue, they feel that they were left out. Well, don't criticize them. Don't chastise them. Find a way to bring them in the fold. It's just like we're doing now. We're having meetings, and they're very productive, positive meetings. Okay? The bigger picture here is to save the village. Okay? You know, Fifth Avenue is the oldest street in the state. Miss Mary Matthew Just, the town was named after her. As you well know, in 1886, it was a chartered town. Beautiful history. But in 1936, in the legislature, a representative from South Carolina was quoted as saying, we can't let those Negroes have this type of power. So they dissolved the township literally overnight. They had their own mayor, they had their own constable, sheriff. Right. It was a history to behold. Okay? You know, so we ought to cherish that community. I always tell people, look, you can push people so far, you got me, that they're going to have enough. They're going to draw the line in the sand. Enough, and they're going to say enough is enough. And I think when Maryville-Ashleyville, when it comes to gentrification, right, because people will be gentrified, even when you look at the trailer park, those people, 20-some odd people, are becoming homeless. Half of them don't have anywhere to go. And that's one thing I like about this. When we started this 3-4 weeks ago, the first meeting, we came together and we said, look, we need to go in that trailer park and find out how these people are being impacted. And you know what? We found people reaching out for help. They didn't know. Okay? So that's the way you be inclusive. Okay? Now, when you sit to the table, when I went to the city and planning, I went under the interpretation that it was only 20 homes that was going back on that narrow road, Fifth Avenue. Well, the city planner and I got together. He said, no, Representative, it's 40 plus homes. Okay? It really blew me through the wall. Because 20 homes was 20 too much. And then to say that you're giving a trade-off is going to be 4 affordable homes. 4 affordable homes. Come on, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, it's a lot of things that I just felt that was left off the table. Okay. Okay. Far too many times you see around the state and other states in the greatest country in the world, when developers come in, it's an old saying, you have not because you ask not. You have to empower the people. Developers like to show that they're community friendly. They like, you know, and the only way they're going to do that, they have to have demands, yes, demands from the neighborhood. And when I say demands, I'm thinking about from an economic standpoint. Okay. Jobs, you got me? Monies to put in coffers to educate the community, field trips, scholarship programs, the whole 9 yards. Because when a developer comes in, they have jobs for people. Well, in Maryville-Ashleyville, we have a lot of skilled tradesmen in that area. I know that, okay? But the developer would leave them out and bring in other skilled tradesmen from other states or from other counties. You see, you're not being empowered from an economic standpoint. These are the type of things that need to come out of this. Now, we can sit and talk to the neighbors about the 15%, the ceiling cap that we put on homeowners as to protect them. Well, guess what? That was implemented back in 2006 in the legislature. Is it working? No, because people are still losing their homes. You know, so to get in a meeting and talk over people's head about, it was zoned this way 20 years ago, and that's why we're being kind. We could have stuck 100 homes back there versus 40. Don't do that. Don't play on people's intellect like that, okay? Now, if you are of the people and for the people, then dog it, act like it. You practice what you preach. You know that was too many homes going back there. You know that affordable homes for trade-off was an embarrassment. And I'll tell anybody that.
Okay.
Because you have to stand on the truth. Okay? You know, I always tell people, you look right up the road, just recently at the Ashley Hall plantation.
Right.
You know, my hat's off to them. My hat's off because they showed that they were unified. They got together. You know, and they'll say, some people will say, Wendell, that was a different issue. Yeah, but the principle was the same. You know, it's awesome. And it's the same thing we should be doing in Maryville-Ashleyville. Okay? That's the bottom line. They united up there. They got the heirs of the mayor.
Right.
They got the heirs of the city councilman.
Right.
I give them their kudos. Now, right down the road, you have a historical neighborhood, wonderful people. You have over 1,000 plus residents back there. Over 95% of them are African American.
Right.
Okay? You know, very historical area, like I told you. Well, what's the difference? Ashley Hall Plantation and that, you know, in Maryville-Ashleyville area. It's no difference. You see what I'm saying? So that's what this is all about. And I want to reiterate, I have to reiterate once again, it's not about nobody's character or leadership. That's not in question. What's in question is saving a village. I'm going to love people just the same, okay? I'm not here to make enemies. If I can offer you something that I've dealt with many times on city council before, I'm dealing with at the state level, I'm going to look back and I'm going to bring it home. If you tell me on city council, say, Wendell, this is what we did on city council. And I say, no, you could have done better. Let's try to do this, okay? And let's join in together because this is about saving the village, okay? That's what this is all about. So that's what this whole issue is about here, and I think it's wrong for people to throw eggs and question my intent, you know, the people who are working with me, to question them, because many of the people who are working with me, they didn't know about it, but they are so enthused and want to do things in the positive as to try to move forward, you know. I give them the kudos for that. Pastor Robinson,
right.
The church in the area,
Right.
Awesome pastor, okay? I give her thanks and her kudos because she didn't have to open her doors, okay? She knows the value of that community, okay? And so it was another church right up the street, top of 5th Avenue up there. I went and talked to the pastor up there. He was like, well, Wendell, I didn't know. Thanks for coming and telling me. I'll let my members know. You see, so it's just about being inclusive,
Right.
okay? Our lesson should be learnt from downtown Charleston on the peninsula, where I was born and raised on the east side.
Harris Street.
Yes, because I'll be the first to sit here and tell you, look, man, there's come a time when you have to understand what that word moratorium means. We all have to stand down, take a breath, go back to the planning board. Okay, that's the bottom line. It's just too many hotels in the wrong places. You have a density problem down there now. Okay, we could do better than what we're doing now. I'm not against hotels. I'm not against development, but dog it, there is such thing as smart growth. Okay, there is such thing as empowering the citizens. Okay, don't ever. I don't think we're in leadership to ever question people that say that's not his job, or that's not her job, or the developers have a right to do what they want to do. No, they don't. Okay, that's why we have zoning boards.
Right.
That's why we have zoning rules. That's why we have public meetings, because we empower our citizens to come to these zoning boards and say, no, we don't want this number. We want this number here, or we don't want it at all. Welcome to America. Okay, so don't ever talk for the developer. The developer was invited to all my meetings,
right.
And I will continue to invite him. We're not no big bad monsters in these communities. Okay? We want to show that we can cooperate and work together. But if they don't acknowledge us and just want to come plow their way in, no, then I think it's time for the citizens in that area to stand up. Okay?
And let me get city side, because they said this issue is a private matter, but they are actually working to offset any possible repercussions. They said that they're currently in the process of building a dozen affordable homes that will be in character with the neighborhood. Is that enough?
Well, remember now, let's be honest with each other. When I went down to the planning department,
Right.
and as the developer was just quoted saying, they started off with 4 affordable homes. You see, now that the voices are being heard, okay, from these meetings that we had, now that 4 had moved to 12. So you see what's happening. And I think in all honesty, they should come to us, lay down the plans and say, look, guys, because of your efforts, we are going to take care of the residents at the trailer park. We're going to do something for them, okay? We're going to increase the number of affordable homes. Just don't do it like they're doing now. You say one thing and then jump to another. You know, just the other day, the developer was telling the reporter, and he stated it, he was quoted, they taped it. He said, we didn't have no commitment, we're not obligated to build no affordable homes back there. And then the councilman, who's a good councilman, you know, he and I worked together for years.
James Lewis.
Yes, I supported his position when he ran, and he knows that. But he gets on TV and he says, well, the developer did promise us affordable homes. Okay? So, hey, you have a contradiction. One person contradicting the other. You got me? So now you got controversy. You see? So what is true and what is false? Okay? We should go with the council member because he was duly elected by the people. The people didn't vote for the developer. Okay? Nobody should ever talk for developers. They have monies and get with consultants and they can talk for themselves. Okay? But we're elected by the people and we have to represent the people. We have to deal with the controversial issues. That's our job. Okay? It's like damn if you do and damn if you don't. But if you believe in what you're doing, if you know that you're elected to represent the many and not the few, if you know that you should always be humble and listen to people, then and only then we can make a difference. Okay? Don't ever grow too big in these offices that you think you can talk down to people. You don't have to represent people. Okay? Far too many times what you see in public office, people get in these positions to make monies for their business. Okay? And that's the danger zone. So we have to watch that. You always watch what we do, not what we say. And then you have to do the paper trail to find out if what we're actually doing is what we say. You say, I know how to do the paper trail. Okay? And I think as this issue goes on, I hope, I know that the mayor will see that it will end in a positive way. Okay? Because the residents are already uniting. Okay? There were a lot of things not considered. And I'm saying that with all due respect. That's all. But the Maryville-Ashleyville area, we are to draw the line in the sand when it comes to gentrification, because people are being gentrified even as we talk, because they've been already given the notice to leave. And that's why it's so important to engage the mayor, engage the developer, and say, hold on, let's back off. Okay? Because now you have the whole area now that's aware of this issue. Okay?
So, let me ask, I got a couple of questions here.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to sit down with James Lewis one-on-one, what will be the next question to him from you?
No, my statement would be, hey, still love you like a brother. You know, I still see you as the person I worked with for years on city council. You and I have different type of characters, but everybody does. Okay? But I'm not going to ever disrespect him.
Right.
Okay? Because, you know, he's done tremendous thing in that position.
Right.
Okay? And he and I hope he and I will always be like brothers. We work together. We had our differences, but we always work together. No developer's gonna come put anything between us. Okay, because this is about the people, it ain't about us, and it ain't about him. Okay, that's why we run for these offices. Okay.
And for the developer, what will be the next question to him?
Well, we got a whole list of questions and a whole list of solutions.
Okay.
Okay. You know, and that's why it's so important that we sit down to the table with him. And I hope that he would be in a position to show that, look, I am making a major impact on this historical, wonderful communities. Okay. And here's what I'm willing to do from the list that the citizens has given me. Okay. That's why we wanted him to come to the meetings.
And
okay.
I know the mayor just sent out, you got the email as well, but the mayor says that Councilman Lewis is already planning another meeting with the citizens of Maryville-Ashleyville.
But the citizens didn't know that.
Okay.
And it was sort of odd that all this came about after I sent a letter to the mayor asking to meet with him. Okay? Now, and I love the way the mayor and his quick response, thank you. Okay? But it didn't have to come out that way.
What way did you want it to come out?
Glad to meet with you and the citizens. That's what we're here for. Here's a date and time. Let's go for it.
Will you attend that city meeting?
Oh, sure, of course. Yes. Yeah.
Now, what questions do you want the residents to ask the city and the developer?
We've compiled a whole list of questions, okay? And that's why it's so important that we had these meetings that I conducted. And because we're trying to get a consensus from the majority of the people in Maryville-Ashleyville. Okay. And the number one priority right now is what is the future? They want to see a map of a 20-year plan, 10 to 15, 20-year plan of Maryville-Ashleyville. Okay. They want to know how they're going to be impacted when it comes to their taxes, because the taxes will go up. Okay. Whether it was 10 homes or 20 homes. Okay. 40 plus home just puts it on a fast track and make it bump that ceiling fast like. You got me? Because you got property owners back there, you got to remember, it's barely holding on to their homes now and the land that they own back there. Okay. Because I've studied the TMS. Okay. I've known a lot of people went in default. Okay. We've encouraged owners back there, he was like a father to me, Mr. Higgins.
Right.
Because he used to preach and teach that. Buy land, own your own community. Mr. Carr, same thing. Okay. Mr. Smalls, who's still with us.
Right.
Same thing. Okay. Mr. Richardson, okay, same thing. Buy, control your community. We didn't do it downtown, for example.
So who's responsible for that?
The people. The people who they put in office and the citizens to be committed and engaged in public affairs at all levels. Because that's why you put us in office. Okay? And when you look the other way, some of these guys get in office and their nose grow like Pinocchio and they get to grow overnight and think that there's some big giant, they forgot who put you there. See, they get bigger than what their office is. And that's a massive problem in public office. They don't know how to humble themselves. They don't want to represent. They have a hidden agenda. They want to get somewhere fast. They don't want to earn it. They want to connect with somebody, like Bernie Sanders said, with monies. Because it was the rich people now who are dictating our leaders. Grassroots leaders are hard to find, brother. I could write a book about this. People come in office with hidden agenda. They want to get to the next level so fast that they don't have time to represent. And that's why you see far too many times our communities are falling apart. I don't want nobody to call me and have to go through a third party. I don't want nobody to call me if they don't get me. Okay? I don't want to have to, because I don't have if I had the money to hire people to be eyes and ears in my community, that's an insult. I don't have to, I don't want to hire people to represent me in my community only when I'm running for office. Okay? But this thing we got about, he's this and he's that. No. He's a public servant. You have the power, not us. We represent you. We work for the citizens. We don't work for ourselves. That's why you see, in whether it's the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, we have problems. We have some serious issues around these matters.
Let me take you to Columbia for just a second, because obviously the General Assembly just passed the budget for this year. Do you approve? And if you could go back, what would you include in that particular budget?
It's a lot of things. More money for education. I would include about a 15% across the board wage increase for all state employees. I would approve where you have a felony on your record, that you wiped out, you can go apply for a job. I could carry you around the world and back. I would put more state funding towards some of these homeless shelters, things along that line, okay? And I have one thing I would go do a lot of people probably would be against, because when I did the research, when you look at our infrastructure, even though we increased the gas tax,
right.
Look at that. That's just a shot in the arm. To get to that 20 bill, we really need $40 billion to resolve what is clear and present in the state of South Carolina. And I blame that on the former governor, because she turned a deaf ear to it. And now here comes all these storms, and you see people losing their lives. You saw houses floating away. You saw roads flooding, because this philosophy about wanting to do more with less, not gonna get it, okay? Our state is growing. We have over 4 million plus people now, okay? You gotta understand that, okay? It's growing. That's why we got the extra congressional seat, okay? The population is increasing. So the demands grow when the population grows, is my point. So this thing about we'll do more with less, no. I think that's an insult to the state of South Carolina.
Project Cool Breeze, as you know, has been kind of cool over here in the past couple of days in Charleston because of the rain. But what will be significant about this year's Project Cool Breeze that we haven't seen in the past 20 years?
We changed some volunteers, of course, okay. Definitely we have a new mayor, and he's enthused about it and supportive. We're bringing on new sponsors. The demands are increasing. Just met with a lady, Mayor Miriam Green, out there, where I was at Buckshot Restaurant. And this lady from Berkeley County came and sat me down. She said, Wendell, I was trying to get in touch with you. We want to create a Project Cool Breeze out in Berkeley County. I said, well, good. And see, things like that makes me feel good, because if you can put tentacles out there and get people started in their own county, then that frees us up here, and we can go service more people in other counties. Because as you well know, we serve throughout the Tri-County now.
Right.
Okay? When I first started Cool Breeze back in 1999, everybody was like, oh, you're just doing that because you're an elected official. Oh yeah? I can't do it because I'm a humble person. I love to help people who are in need, and I created something. Excuse me? Oh yeah, this thing will be over in 2-3 years. Here we are, 19 years later. By the grace of God. You got me? So, hey.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. Well, Wendell Gilliard, thank you for this interview.
Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your state resolution.
Oh, thank you.
I think that was a moment that the state needed to pause and say thanks, not just Wendell Gilliard. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, 2014. Gosh, that's 3 years ago. I love that.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's still relevant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I see you a lot around town, so I don't want people to think that we talk a lot. But let's do another interview next time.
We have to, man.
I appreciate this.
Love you, brother.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate that.